Guys, I've spent the better part of the past week looking at stocks in the MJ space. And when I talk about the MJ space, I'm talking about the Michael Jackson space, okay? We're going to use the term Michael Jackson for this video because I don't want to get demonetized, and I don't know about this whole YouTube thing and how the algorithm works when we talk about Michael Jackson, okay? So we're going to talk about the MJ space. I looked at a lot of stocks, Canopy being one of them, Aurora, I looked into that one, MedMen, I looked into Tilray, I looked into a lot of these different stocks in the MJ space, and a lot of them were interesting to me. A lot of them had interesting things going on. A lot of them interested me, but not enough to make me say, you know what, I gotta go buy that stock. And then I was going ahead and I was in the Discord chat in my private group yesterday, and somebody mentioned a stock called Planet 13 in the Discord chat. And so we went yesterday, we went over to Planet 13 and we actually checked out this establishment. I was like, you know what, I heard about this place in Las Vegas. I gotta go ahead and check it out. So I'm probably showing you guys a bunch of pictures right now. The inside, it's not just like a dispensary or something like that. Like a lot of people think like, oh, isn't it just another dispensary? No. Okay, this place is epic. I mean, it is absolutely an epic, really cool place, and it's really more of an entertainment type venue rather than just a dispensary where you go in and get your Michael Jackson and get out. Okay, this is a full deal Holyfield. Okay, you can get pizzas there, and I'm not talking pizzas with the MJ on. I'm just talking like regular pizzas. I got some tater tots yesterday. Oh my gosh, those tater tots were delicious with some bacon and some cheese sauce, and you can get coffees there and drinks. You can even get beers and stuff there. Like the place is really, it's a dope place, and there's even more additions coming down the road. Okay, so then last night I fully look into the company. I do, read the latest reports on it. I check out the latest company's presentation and all those sorts of things. I look into the management, and I just loved everything I saw. I love the business model. I'm like, I can definitely see this company making a lot of money, not just on the top line, but on the bottom line over time. So here today, I went ahead and I bought some shares. Okay, I bought 10,000 shares to be exact of Planet 13. So a decent sized position, nothing crazy here. And we'll talk about why I'm so excited about this one in this video and why I think we're going to do great in this, but I'll also talk about a little bit of the risk involved with a stock like this. But I did buy 10,000 shares here today. My cost based on those shares was $1.43. And I will say it was fishy why the stock just started to go up and up and up after I bought in it. I'm thinking we have, there might be a rat at Fidelity or something that's keeping track of my account and leaking information to hedge funds or something like that. Because literally right after I bought, all of a sudden volume started to spike in the stock. It was a little weird. I'll just put it like that, okay? And I'm kind of mad about that because I want to buy a lot more shares of this stock. I want to buy another, well, I don't want to say a lot more, but I want to buy about another 5,000 shares or so in the public account as well. And the stocks just started shooting up, pretty much within an hour of me buying, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about this one, why I'm excited about this one, why I think I'm going to do very well in this over time, or at least have a, the risk reward is very attractive for me in a stock like this. So let's talk about this one in depth, okay? This is a Las Vegas MJ Entertainment Complex, okay? They just came off a year where they did $63 million in revenue. And this was the first year of their entertainment complex being open, okay? And they did $63 million. This was the first full year. That's a very impressive number for the first full year of this establishment. They had over 1 million plus visitors in 2019, and they got about 9% of the MJ sales in Nevada, okay, in 2019. So very nice market share. Now, in terms of where their location is at, it's just a little off the strip, but it's very easy to get to if you're like, staying at a hotel or something like that, staying at the Mirage or Bellagio or the Wynn or the Palazzo or somewhere like that. It's very easy to just take a little Uber or Lyft ride over there. Hopefully you're taking an Uber ride. You guys know I got over 3,000 shares of Uber, so make sure you take an Uber ride if you go over the Planet 13, all right? And so it's very easy to get over there. And when it comes to a business model like this, it's all about marketing it, making sure it's marketed so everybody on the strip knows about your establishment. And then when they come back on future vacations, they, visit your establishment as well if they want to, hang out there, if they want some MJ or something like that, okay? Now we look at these numbers a little more in depth. They're consistently doing $16+ million per quarter now, and that's in terms of revenue. And those are very impressive numbers because remember, this business is just starting to ramp. It's one of those businesses like once people figured out of the establishment, you've marketed to them, that's phenomenal, and then they can go ahead and tell their friends and family about it. When they come back on trips in the future to Vegas, they can go ahead and they can visit this establishment as well. And keep in mind, it's not just about this Las Vegas establishment because they will have more of these complexes over time, which we will talk about in just a moment here, okay? But $16 million consistently a quarter they're doing now. And they have some exciting things coming in 2020, okay? So in Q2 of 2020, that's their targeted launch of Planet 13 brands statewide. So essentially they own a bunch of different brands. I'm probably showing you now. They actually have a beautiful glass display with a bunch of their different brands where they can make gummies and brownies and cookies and all these different things like that. Actually, right at the establishment, you can actually watch them making, you know, all these different products. It's pretty dang cool. And so in terms of, they're going to have distribution likely within the next quarter or two to other dispensaries all around Nevada. And think about maybe even down the road, imagine if there was, you know, full legalization someday in the United States of America, which there will be. We just don't know when it will be. Will it be in like a year from now? Will it be like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I would say with almost 100% certainty, there will be full legalization in the United States of America, in my opinion. Like I said, within the next 10 years, I would, you know, very much expect that. And so imagine if they can distribute around the entire United States of America these type of brands long term that they've built, because people have seen these brands, they got used to these brands, they came to this amazing establishment when they were on a trip to Las Vegas, or, you know, they visit future places, and I'm probably showing you another picture of it there. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool to see that there and just kind of hang out, you know, outside of there and just kind of look at, you know, the process and whatnot. They also have a targeted opening of a Los Angeles superstore in Q3 or Q4 of 2020. And this store is actually going to be a little outside of Los Angeles, but that's going to be really exciting because it's going to be fun to see what a second location can do for this company, okay? And I'm in this stock because I believe they're going to have several locations long term, okay? Now, in terms of their Las Vegas operations, like I said, it's not just about the dispensary. They got a coffee shop there, they got a restaurant there, which, you know, like I said, was actually pretty dang good. They got their experiential in-house production that you can actually see people making, like the gummies and the brownies and the cookies and all those different items there. They even have an event space, they have a bar there, and they're talking about they want to hopefully within the next year or so get a nightclub opened up in a lounge where you can actually use the products legally at their establishment, which I think would be an awesome thing. If they could have a lounge there or a nightclub long term, I think that's a game changer for the company long term. And it puts the company in a position where folks can, you know, utilize the products in the establishment and stay there for a much longer time than basically just, you know, getting the product, leaving, or getting the product, going and getting coffee there, getting the product and maybe getting some food and then leaving. You know, if they could have a nightclub, a lounge, those sorts of things, it's definitely a game changer, okay? So the first out-of-state expansion is going to be in Santa Ana, and they're targeting an opening of that in either Q3 or Q4 of 2020. So that's very exciting. Now, in my opinion, it should be, if we're looking out at 2025, and as long as this business does good and they execute, which I believe they will, we'll talk about that in just a moment, I think they can get to 5 to 10 locations by 2025. Now, the Las Vegas location will probably always be the biggest location and probably the most profitable location, probably the biggest revenue generating location, at least in my opinion. But it is certainly a possibility that they will have 5 to 10 locations over the next 5 years as they expand the business. Now, they're talking about their 5-year US objectives. They're talking about they want 8 or more superstores in tier 1 markets across the United States. They say if a city is affluent enough to support a major sports team, Planet 13 is interested in opening a premium MJ store. Okay, so you can think about, you know, some of these cities, you know, San Francisco, LA, San Diego, Seattle, Vancouver. You think about Toronto, you think about Boston, New York, Washington, D.C. We know the politicians, you know, they love the MJ over there, okay? We think about Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Dallas, Phoenix. All of these are huge potential markets. You know, Denver's, you know, that's almost a no-brainer, in my opinion, for probably the 3rd or 4th location there. So you think about this, and you think about a company that, you know, has these huge establishments, these awesome entertainment MJ establishments, the ability to go market by market as things get legalized, whether it's on a federal level or state level over time, okay? So that's really, really exciting. So if we're looking at the latest 3 months, they had almost $16.7 million in revenue. Gross profit came in at almost $10 million. That's a very impressive number there for gross profit. Adjusted EBITDA came in at about $3.3 million. Now, they did lose money on the bottom line. They had a net loss of about $1.7 million, but I will say I do think they actually have a decent probability of having a positive net income in 2020. And if they do take a loss, I think it will be a very minimal loss for the company. I could see this company doing anywhere from like negative 1 cent of EPS to maybe all the way as good as, like, let's say plus like 8 cents or 9 cents, which would be really, really exciting for how young this business is. So it's a business that it's not like some of these other MJ players where they're losing mass amounts of money and they're going to continue to lose mass amounts of money. And one of the other things that excites me so much about this one, you check out this balance sheet. The balance sheet is completely different from what you're used to in the MJ space. Usually in the MJ space, you're looking at, oh my gosh, horrible balance sheets. I mean, debt loaded to the sky balance sheets with very little cash, and that's why a lot of these companies are going to go BK or even have to load up on more debt if they can even get the financing for the debt. A lot of them are in very bad financial position in the MJ space, and that's why you've seen a lot of these stocks just go down and down and down, because a lot of them are not going to make it, and if they do make it, it's going to be by the skin of their teeth, okay? So cash on this company, $18 million, and long-term debt of less than $1 million. That's a strong balance sheet, okay? Especially for the MJ space. Like, I haven't really seen a balance sheet that can even touch that one or even close to it when it comes to a cash versus debt ratio there. We're looking at a company with inside ownership of over 60%, which I love, you know, when insiders have a big, you know, stake in the company, because, you know, their interest and my interests are aligned. We all want to make a lot of money in the stock over the next 5 to 10 years, and so I love the fact that they have a big ownership position. Now, in terms of the gentlemen that run this company, the three kind of main guys, you know, all of them I definitely like, and I think they're kind of the right type of people to be running a business like this. I really do, okay? So Robert Groesbeck, okay, I think he goes by the name Bob rather than Robert. He's co-CEO, and he's usually the one you'll see in a lot of interviews and whatnot. This gentleman is a former mayor of Henderson, okay, which is a suburb of Las Vegas. He practiced law for 25 plus years, okay? He's a serial entrepreneur, and I think he's a perfect type of person to be leading a company like this. Why? He knows government, he knows law, he knows how to get things passed, he knows how to work with regulations and the governments in general, and this cannot be overstated enough when you're talking about the MJ space, and you're talking about a lot of moving parts here, and you're talking about things changing, and you're talking about you got to get along with governments and state regulations and federal regulations, and how do you do all this? It's good to have a law background and actually, you know, worked in government. So I think he's actually one of the most perfect people to be leading a type of business like this, okay? Then in terms of the other co-CEO and board member, Larry there, he's a founder of the largest private printing company in Nevada, okay? He's also been in government as well, okay? He's a former city councilor, and he's a managing director of real estate companies owning over 1,000 acres, okay? So I actually think, you know, the perfect type of people to be leading a company like this have worked in government at some point in time. I think that's really, really important, okay? In terms of Dennis Logan, he's the CFO of the company. He's been the CFO of multiple public companies. He's got 17 plus years in investment banking, which I think is a big, if this company needs to raise money down the road, which we'll see, because, I mean, imagine if the Las Vegas operation is very, very profitable. They get that Santa Ana property, you know, let's say the profitability within the first year and a half that it's open or something like that. They might end up just throwing off enough cash that they could actually self-fund and self-build some of the properties, but I would imagine they'll raise some capital over time so they can, you know, just build things a little quicker than, you know, trying to save up and take that net income and things like that, okay? There are several different interviews with the co-CEO on YouTube that I watched, you know, pretty much all of them last night, and I definitely enjoyed them. I think he's got a great vision for the company. I think he's got his head on straight, and I think he's going to, you know, I think there's a good, decent probability that he's going to make a big success of this company. Let's just put it that way, okay? Now, in terms of some of their products, because remember, this isn't just about the venues they have. This isn't just about the, you know, the physical retail they have and all those sorts of things, and the restaurants and maybe the clubs down the road and lounges. It's also about the products that they can, you know, ship out to, you know, other dispensaries over time because of these brands that hopefully they successfully build over the next few years. They got a trendy brand. They got the Medizin brand. They have a Leaf and Vine brand. You can, you know, pause the video if you want to look in more in depth about any of these brands. They have the Dreamland Chocolates brand, okay? I think this brand's called Haha, which I think is the perfect name if that's what it's actually called, for infused gummies, okay? They got the Planet M brand, and I think that's just phenomenal, okay? Now, in terms of why can I not put a ton of money into the stock? Like, let's say, why can't I put $100,000 into the stock or something like that? The reason I can't at the end of the day for this Planet 13 is because it is an over-the-counter type stock, okay? Which is, there's definitely more risk. There's a much less regulation valuation. And so it makes sense for a smaller company like this to, be on the OTC. And then as the company grows up and maybe they get to a place where they're doing $100 million of revenue a year, 150, 200 million, then you can grow up and you can go on to one of the big exchanges at those point in time. But for right now, the company is on the OTC, okay? And it's not like, an Amazon that's on the NASDAQ or a Johnson & Johnson that's on the New York Stock Exchange. The requirements and the regulations for companies that are on those type of exchanges is totally different than a stock that's on the OTC. So that is why I cannot make this into a huge position. But this Planet 13 stock is a perfect type of stock for me from a perspective of if I want to take a more of a speculative risk out there. Like you guys know, I don't like to take huge speculative risks. This company's already proven they're doing, $60+ million in revenue. I can definitely see that number jumping to $100 million plus within the next 2 years. Probably within the next 5 years, I can see this business getting to a place where they're doing $200+ million of revenue. I think that's really important. The valuation for this company, we're looking at a market capitalization of around 200 million. I think when I bought in today, it was actually a little under 200 million, which is not incredibly expensive. If this is a company that can get to a place where they're, have net income of $10 million or $20 million, which I definitely think is a possibility within the next couple years. So I'm looking at this one and I love it. The balance sheet, like you cannot find good balance sheets in the MJ space. Almost all of them are disasters. Like I just came off of looking into a ton of companies in the MJ space, and almost company after company, I was looking at them and I'm like, man, these balance sheets are really bad. And a lot of these companies are going to go bankrupt or have to, sell out to another company, or something's going to have to happen here because a lot of those MJ stocks are losing a ton of money on their bottom line right now. That it's not expected to change anytime soon, and they're running out of capital very fast, and they're already debt loaded. Planet 13 stock is not in that type of situation at all. So I really like this one as like, a multi-year play if I'm thinking out like 5-10 years from now. And it's definitely more speculative than most stocks I buy out there. But when I looked at it, I was like, I think I always think in terms of risk reward, and I think the reward potential here is massive if this becomes a very, very successful company and builds into a company that does $500 million or $1 billion of revenues over the next 10 years. And imagine what's going to hit the bottom line versus a risk that this company goes bankrupt and the stock goes to zero or something like that. I think the reward side definitely kind of favors me as an investor in this particular one, guys. But I would love to hear your opinion on this Planet 13 stock down there in that comment section if you've ever looked into it. If you want to go ahead and look into it, go to Google and type in like Planet 13 Investor Relations page. Make sure you always do your research before you buy any stock in general out there, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. Smash the thumbs up button if you enjoyed today's video as always. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.